This conference will now be recorded.
As you just heard, this conference will now be recorded. It's difficult to believe that we're in our second month, just completed our second month of these weekly calls. And I really appreciate your participation on this. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Wayne Mitchell. I'm the President and CEO of the Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce. Again, I will remind you this conference call is being recorded.
Sorry.
Wayne Mitchell
Is unavailable. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Somebody needs to mute my phone. I want you to know that we're recording this call and that members of the media have been invited to participate on the call, and I can see we have several on the call as we speak. I respectfully ask you all put your phones and your computers on mute until we're ready for the question part of the program. The Chamber has a wealth of information located on the Chamber website. We update that 7 days a week. There's an enormous amount of useful information there, and I'd really encourage you, if you haven't visited it lately, I would encourage you to visit it. There's still a fair amount of confusion on the interpretation of the back to business regulations. The Chamber continues to refer calls to the website and the appropriate agency. Last week, I participated on a conference call with Representative Gomert. He continues to offer assistance with our dealings with federal agencies, and I suspect we're going to try to broker a meeting with him and the hospital and the finance community in the next few days. This morning, I'm pleased to introduce to you our County Judge Greg Sowell. Thinking back of our first meeting over 2 months ago at the Chamber, we were fortunate enough to have Judge join us, and it was a very interesting meeting that first time we got together. I saw the judge 3 days later at another meeting, and I commented to my colleague sitting to the right of me that I've never seen anyone age as much as he had in 3 days with all that was going on in his world as it relates to COVID-19. I can say this, if there's anyone in a challenging position, it's our judge today. I can say that we're blessed to have Greg in this position at this critical time. He's worked tirelessly to protect the citizens of Nacogdoches County, preserve our economy.
You have reached the maximum length for a recording. To send this message with normal priority, press 1. To send this message with urgent priority, press 2. To play your message, press 3. To re-record it, press 4. To cancel, press 6.
This
To play your
conference will now
message,
be
press
recorded.
3. To re-record it, press 4. To cancel, press 6.
So I'm pleased to say that we've got the right person in the right job at the right time, and that's Judge Sowell. I'm also pleased to welcome our interim city manager, Jim Seavey, as well. Jim serves very capably as our chief of police, and I'm thrilled to have these two guys with us. Good morning, Greg. Hopefully we won't have any more interruptions. Good morning.
Good morning, Wayne. Thank you for those words, and thank you for having me here this morning. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay, if you want me to just go ahead and begin.
Yes, sir, please.
Well, first off, again, thank you for having us, and again, Jim Seavey, the interim city manager, is here with me. So, as this has been a unified command or a unified response from the very beginning with both the county and the city of Nacogdoches. Our forces have been combined since the very beginning to address this situation. Right into everything this morning, as far as our statistics are concerned, we have 217 confirmed cases in Nacogdoches County. 139 of those cases are considered active, with 67 recoveries and, unfortunately and tragically, 11 reported deaths. As far as the numbers go, I want to clear that up. All of our information that we report to you, the public, is information as reported to us by the Texas Department of State Health Services. Since the very beginning, the only entity that has all of the information on the individuals affected by this virus is the Texas Department of State Health Services, as they are the health authority for Nacogdoches County. These numbers do differ from what's on the state website. I can tell you that our numbers are what has exactly been reported to us by the Texas Department of State Health Services. They acknowledge that their numbers differ on their website. We do reconcile these numbers with the Department of Health in Tyler. It appears that the breakdown is somewhere between Tyler and the people that actually keep their website up in Austin. And since they both work for the same agency, they will have to deal with that. But I can assure the people that what we're giving you is timely, and what we're giving you is factual and confirmed. We don't report anything gathered through supposition or rumor. Everything that we report is factual and timely. Yesterday, late, we received the first report from the Texas Department of State Health Services as to the result of their contact investigations on people specific to Nacogdoches and Nacogdoches County. Of that report, and this will be published this morning, I believe, on both our Facebook page or website, and pushed out to the press as well here within a matter of minutes after this is over with. Their investigation indicates that 31% of the cases are community spread, and that includes persons that are in the same household with each other. 17% in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes and assisted living. 15% has originated in meat processing facilities, and 13% are healthcare workers. That being said, there's also a category of 14% they list as pending or unknown, and they qualify their unknowns as persons that were either lost to follow up on their end, or the person declined to provide information, which is totally within everyone's rights. As of last Sunday, which just runs at least one day behind, the hospital census, as reported to SETRAC, that's SETRAC, you can look them up on the internet. They have a website that covers Southeast Texas as far as equipment and as far as COVID cases in hospitals. They reported 16 suspected and confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nacogdoches hospitals. As of Sunday, 2 of those were reported to be in intensive care units. Early on, in Nacogdoches, we've given well over 1,000 tests that have been given in the county. This is, of course, an estimation. We know how many tests have been given at the testing center. However, tests are being given at hospitals, private physicians, private clinics, every healthcare facility across Nacogdoches and Nacogdoches County. And the way that works is when a positive test result or a positive lab result comes back to those healthcare providers, they report it to the Texas Department of Health in Tyler. And Tyler, the epidemiologist there, Dr. Huff in Tyler, reviews each and every lab report. And once that is confirmed, then it is reported to us. You will notice that we update our information sometime at 9 p.m. at night. That's because that's when we get the call. If we get it at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night, that's when we put it out. So that's the situation on as it stands right now. Early on in this operation, there were several objectives. One, of course, was testing, and the other was to make sure that our hospitals did not become overwhelmed due to lack of equipment, due to lack of room, and lack of personnel. The testing center side, we came together real quickly and set up a call center. We were able to acquire the tests. Both hospitals came together wonderfully, along with the DeWitt School of Nursing at Stephen F. Austin State University. Volunteer physicians and healthcare professionals from across the county came together. We set up the call center and we set up the testing center. That's how we got a majority tests early on. Healthcare facilities in the first 2 weeks of this operation, it really appeared that they were going to be in danger due to lack of equipment such as ventilators, lack of personal protective equipment. This was all very scarce in the very beginning. I'm happy to report that over half of the ventilators in Nacogdoches hospitals that are available for use right now were acquired by our emergency management personnel through the state of Texas. They are here and they are available for use. Personal protective equipment that was at one time very scarce. The supply chain has somewhat caught up. We have PPE available for our healthcare providers, for our first responders, and also for our jail personnel if need be. And we have it here on hand. The state indicated yesterday in their conversation with me to expect a surge in the coming weeks, to expect a rise in cases due to the reopening and also of such things like Mother's Day being last Sunday. They don't know what that surge is going to be. I hope that at this point we don't get into a situation where the hospitals are overrun, but at this point we appear to be holding our own and everything appears to be good on the hospital side. They told me to expect more state testing to occur. They told me that to expect that testing to be centered on what they call hot spots and surge areas such as long-term care facilities, meat processing plants, and in the event that it's needed, jails and prisons. So that's what they have identified. So that's sort of a snapshot of where we are today and where we've been. This has been a very trying time. This has been a very, very unsettling time, I know, for everyone. But together we're going to come through this. Now, I want to shift gears real quick and tell you about the other side of our job here, and that's what's going on in county government and the courthouse. The courthouse is open and has been open. First off, each elected official has the total authority and responsibility to operate their offices as they see fit. The courthouse is open. I would suggest that if you have business at the courthouse, a lot of it is being done by e-filing. A lot of it's being done by mail and by telephone. Please call first to the respected offices. As far as the departments that are controlled by the Commissioner's Court, such as Road and Bridge, Maintenance, Expo, things like that, those are all operating and have been, and they have never missed a beat. As far as the criminal courts are concerned, we've been real busy at that, because if you think about it, criminal courts have been pretty much closed down due to the Office of Court Administration making their rules and regulations. And if you do that, then you have a possibility of overcrowding your county jail. So we've been working real hard to try to get that remedied. I am very proud of our staff and of our people here at the courthouse and at the jail, and our district judges and our county court law judges. We have been able to outfit each criminal courtroom and district courtroom upstairs with the capability to do Zoom conferences, which has been something we've never been done here before. We've also have the jail set up. They're actually able to do hearings, arraignments, and even in some cases criminal pleas from the courthouse with our district judges and with our county court law judge, while the inmate is at the jail and is never brought to the courthouse. Looking in the future, all criminal jury trials and civil jury trials have been suspended by the Office of Court Administration until after June 1st, and there is no concrete date when that will be set, but they have set protocols for the future. We are working with those. What you can expect to see there is if there is a jury or a jury trial that is held as it stands right now in criminal court or in state court, where there are normally large jury pools, that will be held at the Exposition Center right now in the Civic Center. And we are looking at putting procedures in place for that. Also, some of our justice of the peace courts must have some smaller hearings as required by law due to some civil matters that come before them every day. Their courtrooms are being so small, we are preparing the large room at the courthouse annex for them to use so social distancing can be achieved. Also, challenges coming up is the July runoff elections. The Secretary of State's office has set protocols for the way they want these elections handled. Our elections personnel are hard at work right now, working with our staff to get the necessary equipment and to work those problems out there as well. Again, with the courthouse, I'd suggest we are open, but I suggest that you call first. There's been a lot of things such as registration that have been suspended by the state, that even if your car does not have a valid sticker on it right now, everything has been waived, and they tell me that will all be waived for 60 days even after this emergency is concluded. And with that said, it's also budget time at the county, and we're going to be looking at that very close because there's going to be a lot of unknowns, as all of you know, in this. And so we're going to prepare to start the budget process here as well. I know that's a lot of information in a short period of time. However, as far as the state report goes, it will all be made public and all be published and available for your inspection. Do you have anything you want to say from the city side real quick?
No, I can give you a quick update from the city side. City Hall open completely. Last week, we continue to remain open. Some of the city departments are closed, such as the rec center and the library, but we're phasing their reopening over the next few weeks, and we anticipate to be fully functional again in June. We too are struggling with our budget, waiting for sales tax reports to come in June before we take much action, preparing for a variety of outcomes from the effects of the virus. So I think things are progressing pretty nicely as far as reopening. We're hoping that our numbers stay down and stay low, and we'll continue to watch those, stay flexible, and we will adjust accordingly. About it.
Well, thank you, Judge, and thank you, Chief Seavey. We do have a few questions. If I would like to present to you. One is, retailers and restaurants are permitted to open under certain conditions. Who's going to enforce those requirements, and what are the penalties associated with it?
We have members of the Nacogdoches Fire Department and Police Department that travel around and have been. They have been for 2 or 3 weeks now, and we're traveling around to the various retailers and restaurants, doing walkthroughs, spot checks, and things like that. We haven't seen any major problems, and when we do encounter an incident of some sort, our compliance, voluntary compliance, is pretty incredible. Everybody is continuing to work together, and just haven't had any real problems. There are some provisions for fines up to $1,000.
I have no idea where that's coming from. Hello? Go ahead, Chief. Hello? Can you folks hear me? You can. Okay. Chief Seavey, are you still there, sir?
Unmuted.
By the way, Wayne, you played beautifully. Wayne, you played beautifully.
Thank you very much. It's taken a lot of lessons to get to that point. So apparently we have lost Chief Seavey and Judge Sowell. I apologize for that. If they come back on, we'll get them hooked up. What I believe Judge Sowell, you're no longer there, are you? Okay, why don't we continue along on the agenda here if we could. Let's begin with our update from Senator Nichols. Senator Nichols, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I thought you were doing quite well on the piano myself.
Thank you, sir.
I've got a fairly short report on the testing the judge was talking about. We've done about 120,000 statewide since last week. A week ago, the governor said we were going to be testing 20,000 a day. That's about 2% of the population a month. Yesterday's report was they're up to $25,000 a day. And by the end of the month, they hope to be at 35,000 a day, which is almost 1 million a month, or 3% of the population per month. Number of cases positive is averaging about 7.5%. At some point, we're going to reach the point where we'll be testing people that don't have symptoms, I guess. Contact tracers, state and local, we're at about 2,400 right now, shooting for about 4,800 in about 2 weeks. As the judge mentioned, there's a real focus to do 100% testing in the hotspots, which are the nursing homes, assisted living, packing plants, meat, pork, beef, chicken, prisons, and other contained populations such as the Lufkin State School. We had been very fortunate over there, but we did get 2 tested positive last week. I know y'all have got people that work over there. There is now, under the CARES Act, funding available for cities and counties for COVID expenses. Any city or county that here in East Texas that wants to apply can apply, agree for it to only cover your cost. And then they can immediately, once they sign that agreement, pull down, I think, 20% of $55 per population in your city or county. You can draw that down right now. And then as you incur more expenses, you can continue to add that to your list and draw down more money. Expenses are truly expenses. They're not revenue shortfalls for a city or county. It can be anything from distance learning, improvements for telecommunication work, paid sick leave for COVID, county jail expenses that are extra, expenses you have related to homeless populations and so on. There's a 23-page list Department of Emergency Management has. You can download that list by going to the TDEM website. That's tdem.texas.gov. It's on the right side of the screen. That's a CARES Act funding. You just click it and go down. So there's about $1.8 billion for smaller cities and counties that's available in that. Probably one issue I've heard more than any other here lately has to do with property taxes. Isn't there some way we can go back and use 2019 property tax rates and freeze them at that instead of the 2020? Governor Abbott says no, no, no. So if somebody asks, you can just tell them the answer is no from the governor. That's pretty much my report in case somebody has a question they'd like to ask me.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions for Senator Nichols? If not, again, thank you, Senator. I'm told that Judge Sowell and Chief Seavey can hear us, but sadly can't communicate by talking. So I do want to take a minute and thank Judge Sowell. Much of what he and the chief have shared is, I believe, very valuable information that the media on the call will find very interesting. And those of us that are attempting to navigate these new times will benefit from that information. We want to thank both of them for their participation on it, even though we can't communicate with them. Good morning, Larissa. Could we get an update from the Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation?
Hi, good morning. I feel kind of bad sometimes when I get on here because I'm supposed to be giving the economic update, and we're in one of the largest economic crises this country's ever seen, so my news is typically not great. But I think it's important to share the numbers and share the information so that we all know where we're at. Right now, we saw a decrease in sales tax. I'm trying to look at the numbers here for the city of about 5%. That is for the month of March. So if you think about March, that's only about 2 weeks of businesses being shut down. So we anticipate that decrease will be significantly more next month when we get those numbers, and we typically get those numbers the first week of each month. Unemployment is a similar story. We have seen last month we were 5 to 6% unemployment. We anticipate that number is continuing to grow. For example, in just 1 week, we saw more new unemployment claims than we did on average each month last year. So we are seeing shockingly high numbers of unemployment claims. However, those numbers are starting to decrease, meaning the folks that are filing for unemployment, we believe most of them have filed. Now we're just hopeful that our businesses can get those folks back on a payroll and rehired. There has been some clarification on the PPP program as far as rehiring people and offers to bring back employees. I will gladly delve into that myself if Larry is not on the call. So I'll just kind of put a pin on that and talk about that later if I need to. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you very much, Larissa. Appreciate that update. Representative Travis Clardy, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Not too much to report. I think we're all in the same place, a little bit of a holding pattern. I will say that I was talking to the Texas Department of Emergency Management folks last night, and then also DISHES, the Department of Health and Safety. I always remember their acronym. Anyway, DISHES, and teamed them last night on the issue involving our meatpacking plants around East Texas, particularly our poultry plants. We are getting some good information there. I think Judge Sowell talked about that a little bit on the epidemiological report that he received, which was really a good, thorough report, which they shared with me last night. And so we're making no progress. I think the main thing the big takeaway that I heard yesterday that I've been thinking this was what was happening, but this was confirmed by Tatum's that we're really kind of on hold and waiting for about 8 to 10 days. We've opened the state up, albeit in some marginal amounts Friday last. So we're into that process, but the day they're really looking at is about 10 to 14 days after Mother's Day. There was a lot of traveling, a lot of traffic, a lot of people went back to as normal as we've been in a long time to go see their mamas around the state and around town. So there's been a lot more movement and contact with people who before have been relatively quarantined and isolated. So we are expecting there to be a spike or a bit of a bump in cases reported in about a week, at this point moving forward. So a week to 10 days, we're kind of holding our breath on that. Personally, I'm optimistic that we're not going to see much of a bump. What I've seen in just being out a little bit, people still are maintaining distance, people that are sick are staying home, people that have a weakness or, infirmities or whatever, I think are taking extra precautions and are not getting themselves exposed. And so, I think we've all learned good lessons. They're still washing our hands and doing those things. So I'm really hoping that in a week or two, we're not going to see a big influx of cases. We've plateaued in Nacogdoches County. One thing I want to point out what Sal said and what Senator Nichols said, around the state, the testing percentage positive. So symptomatic people being tested, somewhere less than 10% are testing positive for the coronavirus. In Nacogdoches, where we've been, I think, very aggressive, I think you're getting frankly better numbers. We've tested over 1,000 people. Our percentage testing positive for coronavirus is 20%. Over 200 cases with just over 1,000 tests. So that's really unique around the state with that percentage. I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing. For a while, we run it in double digits for several days in a row. And just in the last 3 or 4 reporting days in Nacogdoches County, those have dropped into the single digits, lower single digits. So I think we're trending down, and I think it's going to continue. So, but the proof will be in the pudding in about a week or 10 days, and we can see where we are. Hopefully, it's going to indicate that the warm weather is having an effect, and then we're going to be kind of back on our feet sooner than later is my fervent hope and prayer. Last shameless plug, this Friday, 3 o'clock, we're going to continue our town halls. I'm hoping to have a special celebrity guest, someone a lot more entertaining than me. And so we're looking forward to that this Friday at 3 on our Facebook page, Travis for Texas. Hope y'all can all join. So that's my report. I'm happy to answer questions along the way if anybody has any. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Clardy. Any questions for Travis? If not, we will now hear from Amy Mahaffey, Communications Director for the City of Nacogdoches. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I know that y'all have been able to speak to Judge Sowell and Chief Seavey this morning about some of the new information that's going to be coming out today regarding clusters in the community. So we'll be looking at continuing to educate the community about that. One thing that's also important to note, the Emergency Operations Center and the county and the city have been working really hard to work on a plan to continue to sustain testing in the community. What that means is that volunteers who had been working our call center and our testing site for many, many weeks, they're all kind of getting back to work. And as you know, volunteers tend to burn out. And so we thank all of them for their hard work and dedication to our community. And with that, this week we began distributing that same testing capacity to other parts of the community. That includes both hospitals, several clinics throughout the community, and quite a few doctors' offices. And so we have different city staff that are manning the call center. The numbers and the hours remain the same, but we will be pointing people to a primary care physician. What we are finding is if people have a primary care physician that they're familiar with, they're able to either be directed to a hospital to be tested in a drive-up fashion, much like before, or to a clinic that maybe their PCP runs or is a part of or has privileges at. And so they will be continued to be given care in that way. This is actually a really great thing because we've been able to keep the same testing capacity for as long as we may need it in the community, also spreading out the geographic locations of where people can be tested, and give people the ability, if they do not have COVID symptoms, but they are calling the call center in order to get their symptoms checked, that they're put in contact with somebody who can provide them care that may be unrelated to COVID. And so there's a sustainability factor here that will continue to be implemented throughout the community. And then everybody on the call, I see a lot of familiar faces from the past few weeks. And so I guess I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for helping to communicate the complexities of this situation. We continue to get calls and questions on social media and emails. And I always tell people, say, well, I'm sorry for asking this question. It may have already been asked. And I always tell people, you know, we are sent a barrage of information, the national news, the local news. Everybody is so very helpful in allowing us to spread the accurate information. And then all of you here are very much a part of that. You keep yourselves informed and you take the time to get on these calls and to get the updates so that you can share those with people that you may know or work with. And so we want to continue to be a resource. If you see any need in the community, whether it seems big or small, please let us know. We have lots of contacts with different nonprofits throughout the community, and there's an entire division of your emergency management center that has devoted to logistics and helping fill needs throughout the community. As we've said many times, this is a long-running disaster, and so things and needs will evolve and they will change. And so I want to continue to remind people that that is something that we are here to do and a service that we're happy to provide. And so please direct any questions towards us at the city or at the county. And I think I'm good after that update, Wayne. So thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much, Amy. We appreciate that update. Next, we'll hear from Larry Cain, the director of the SBDC. Good morning, Larry. Larry, are you with us, sir? Going, gone. Well, we will, I wanted to let you folks know that in our attempt to get these calls between 45 minutes and an hour, we have asked our typical participants if they would if they would mind participating in a rotation. And just because we didn't hear from somebody today doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have anything of value to say. It's just that we're trying to keep these calls within a reasonable length. Having said that, we're just a few minutes ahead of time. Do any of our other partners have anything that they'd like to contribute before we conclude the call? Or anybody on the call, you're certainly welcome. Just unmute your mic and speak, please.
Wayne, it's Betty Russo. I'd like to add that there is a really helpful website. It's gov.texas.gov/organization/OpenTexas. On that, you will find a lot of different checklists for ways to open up churches, movie theaters, restaurants, outdoor sports participants. They're all checklists in detail, and they're very, very helpful to the businesses that are trying to do it the right way. It also breaks it down further down the page for barbershops, cosmetology, hair salons, things like that. So I just wanted to put that in there.
Thank you, Betty. We appreciate that. We'll certainly post that on the Chamber's website as well. For those who don't know, Betty is from the Office of the Governor. We're thrilled to have her on these calls every week. Thank you, Betty, very much.
Thank you.
Sherry, anything new from the CVB area? I see you shaking your head no. It is nice to see some of the restaurants opening up in town, at least partially. That's looking pretty good. Anybody else? Well, several of you.
Wayne, this is Gary Ashcraft with the United Way. Want to let you know, ADAC, Alcohol, Drug, and Council, is distributing pretty aggressively children's books and children's games through the schools and that kind of thing. If anybody out there's listening that would like to have an idea or what have you to get teaching materials of that sort into the homes where the, bless their hearts, families are teaching their kids, let us know, and we'll make that happen for you.
Thank you, Gary Lee. I appreciate that. Kelly, do you want to take a second and talk about the poster contest?
Good morning, everyone. The Texas Blueberry Festival still has a lot of leadership and active volunteers making sure that we don't forget about the tastiest festival in Texas. So, and several of you are involved as well, but we are about to launch a Color Splash coloring page that utilizes the art for this year's festival, and it's open to everyone, anyone, all ages, anywhere you are, to color the page, post it in different ways. So you could do it online on your Facebook pages using our hashtag TBF2020, or you could actually take it to Tipton Ford, and Neil Slayton will gladly post it in his big glass windows in his storefronts. You can post it in your windows at home so your neighbors will see that you are in the Blueberry Festival spirit. We will be doing a formal launch soon. Of course, you'll be able to access the art online. We'll have hard copies available, and we're hoping some of our notables, our VIPs, will also take part in this. Maybe we'll have some colorings from some of our local leaders too. Of course, the festival sponsors and their businesses can all have a poster page as well. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to, again, give the kids and parents something to do at this time. And we want to thank Neil Slayton at Tipton Ford for really kind of coming up with this wonderful idea.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. I do want to let you know that several of you, go ahead.
Wayne, this is Larry. Can you hear me now?
We can go right ahead, sir, with your report.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I have telephone problems at home. The good news is I plan to be back in my office next week, so that's the best news I've heard in quite a while. So I'll go ahead and talk about the PPP loans that Larissa had referred to. As far as I know, the local banks are still accepting applications for the Paycheck Protection Program loans, and they're all caught up, the ones that I've talked to anyway, and the rush seems to be over. Applications are still being accepted, but it appears that most of the small businesses that want those loans have applied for them and hopefully have been closed and funded. The big issue now is forgiveness of those loans. There's a lot of questions about that, a lot of concern about doing the right thing and spending the money on the right expenses, especially payroll. And then what documentation do I, as a business owner, keep track of so that I can get those loans forgiven? As it stands right now, I'm afraid that every bank's going to have to come up with their own documentation on requesting forgiveness and supporting that documentation. And we're hoping that the SBA and the Treasury Department will come forward with a template to use for that. Things seem to change every day or two in that regard. The best source of information I found is on the Treasury Department website. If you go there and look at frequently asked questions about PPP loans, that information is updated a couple of times a week, so it's very current. Also, the SBA out of Houston is doing forgiveness webinars twice a day during the week. And so I have that link if anybody would like to listen in on those calls. Talking about the EIDL program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans done directly by the SBA, those applications are only being accepted right now from farms and ranches, agricultural businesses, that sort of thing. And hopefully there was an article in the Nacogdoches paper a few days ago about that. So we need to get the word out to the farmers and ranchers that they can apply for those loans. There's some question right now whether the cap has been lowered to $150,000 per loan. It started out at $2 million. And I talked to the SBA director in Houston a couple of days ago, and he has not even been given any official guidance on that. But he said it is looking more and more like that may be the case, that they are capping those loans at $150,000 each. There should have also been an ad in the paper this weekend about our SBDC looking for some independent contractors to assist us for the next 18 months. This would be temporary part-time positions. We're looking for 3 people, hopefully one to help with marketing and social media, one hopefully knowledgeable in healthcare, and then one with general business experience. We do require a 4-year degree and 7 years of experience. And so you can go to the Angelina College Human Resource site and look under administration and see a full page information sheet on these positions. And we really don't expect to leave this open very long. We need to get these positions filled as soon as possible. So if anybody has any questions, they can call me at 936-633-5400 or email me, or just go ahead and send your resume to ewalker@angelina.edu. That's all I have, Wayne. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. We appreciate that. I do see we have Superintendent Trujillo and Les Linebarger on the line. Anything from the NASD?
Hello, how are y'all doing?
Doing great.
Just wanted to give you we're excited about the moving step with some of our graduation plans, and I'm feeling more reassured with listening to what we're trying to do as far as a slow transition. You'll notice it's quite a few of our school districts around us are entertaining different types. The commissioner has given us several options. One is a virtual graduation for our seniors. The second one is a vehicle graduation where vehicles line up and they're able to come through. We were really looking for something more of a unique hybrid, and the hybrid allows to have follow the rules with regards to small numbers, where we would have the immediate family, 5 members of the family, along with a graduate, come into the auditorium, and the diploma will be sitting on the stage where it hadn't been touched for the last 24 hours. The senior will come up, collect it, while the family can celebrate with them. They will exit, and then the next family would come into the auditorium between some cleanup that we would do really quickly. We would be videotaping each one of our graduates as they're coming in. And so our hopes is on the actual day of graduation, we will broadcast through multiple social media outlets the entire graduation. So our seniors, our community folks can watch it from the safety of their home and celebrate our tremendous work that all our graduates have done. We opted to go this route. There's quite a few districts that are doing open air stadium graduations, but I'm becoming very well familiar with the weather here. And so we don't know if we're gonna have some rain that day, or if it's gonna be that July heat or June heat. That unfortunately, that face-to-face at the stadium is an option that a lot of superintendents and districts are doing. But my concern with my team and in conversations with the city, and Les has done a great job of partnering that up, is we can have no control about what happens in the parking lot, either before the graduation or immediately after the graduation. As 300 plus graduates congregate in the parking lot, I didn't feel that would be something that would benefit our community. So what better way to celebrate our seniors than to honor them with their family, and then on the day of graduation, share that celebration and that ceremony with the entire community. You'll be hearing more about this. I've been putting a little video vignette out for our district, and I'll be working on a video that will kind of highlight each one of the steps that we'll be doing. Our principal, Dr. Crispo, has done a tremendous job. He has been researching every possible way of what would benefit our seniors and honor them, and I embrace his work and the tremendous efforts he's done to keep that going. We're working right now on a senior parade, and there'll be more details coming out. We're having that really evaluated by quite a few folks, making sure that we follow the letter of the rule with regards to our health guidelines and the CDC that's guiding the school district. So that's the one big thing that's looming right now, is what's going to happen with our seniors. And we're proud of the work that Dr. Crispo and his staff, along with my executive team, and even we reached out to the city and said, what do you think about our plan? And we got feedback, and they like what we have in plan, and we're excited about it. One thing I might add is we've had surrounding communities request if they can use our stadium and facilities. I don't feel comfortable sharing that for our seniors, and I don't want to really open that opportunity out. So we're kind of keeping it close to the chest to monitor who's coming in and following the rules with regard to social distancing and having the sanitation and all the things that we need. So we're excited about that direction that we're going, Wayne. Thank you so much for allowing me a quick moment to share this with our folks.
Well, thank you, Dr. Trio. I know it's a challenging time for all of you folks, but it looks like you've got some real good options ahead of you. Great
Yes,
news for all of us. Well, listen, folks, we are now about 45 minutes into our call. I want to again thank Judge Sowell and Chief Seavey, our interim city manager, for participating. For those of you that submitted questions that I didn't get an opportunity to ask, I will submit them to the appropriate person and get back to you hopefully in the next couple of days with your questions. I apologize for our audio problem on that. And again, I want to thank all of you folks for taking time to participate in these calls. They certainly are of great value to helping us understand what's going on in the many aspects of this very complex time we're living in. And I can't thank you all enough for the time you take for for caring enough to dial in, and hopefully we'll all be back to business in a normal environment very soon. Any last comments from anybody? If not, ladies and gentlemen, have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday for our 9th call.